If you can just introduce yourself.
My name's Coach Miday. I'm a director of strength and conditioning at the University of Louisville for football.
So, why do people choose to exercise?
I think there's several different reasons. The biggest one would be self-esteem. I think it helps a lot of people, feel better about themselves, but they look in the mirror a lot and they want other people to see them, a certain light, a certain tone. I think society puts pressure on that. Secondly, I think people they do feel better, and once they get over that, they work out for 3-4 weeks. Hopefully it becomes more of an addiction or a behavior, and that can be another reason. But I think how other people view them and then how they feel about themselves mentally and physically would be two of the larger reasons.
Sir, can you explain exercise behavior and give some examples of it?
I believe exercise behavior is kind of the positives and negatives that you get from it. Looking around the weight room when I've been around, there's definitely a lot of positives. People's metabolisms are up, they sleep better, a lot of things like that. Negatives can be overtraining, getting injured. How they act can be dictated by those things. And you can go on a long time just about those questions, but positive negatives from exercising and how they use those in their life.
How can exercise reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease?
Well, it can go a lot. Cardiovascular can be high blood pressure, can be due to the amount of fats that they have in their diet. Processing some of the fat could be the amount of fat that they have in their body themselves. That fat actually circulates throughout the system. It doesn't sit in one spot. That's something I was surprised at when I was in school years ago. So the fat that's circulating through the system can obviously cause a fat buildup or plaque buildup. So exercising can flush that out, can burn more calories, can reduce that fat. Also, it can release stress level. When you talk about stress and cardiovascular disease, a lot of people might have stress in their life, and just by working out can lower that stress level, can sleep better. So it's more than just one answer by being a leaner person. It's probably a twofold with how they feel about themselves versus, their body.
So how does exercise show your psychological health?
How does it show your psychological health?
Yes,
Show your psychological health. Psychologically, show it. I would say, from what I've seen, people that are very lackadaisical and I just use the word lazy for their lifestyle, they tend to be more sluggish, psychologically too. Their thought process isn't going to be as quick. Not only are they going to be lazy physically, also psychologically. Keeping the mind trained is just as important as the body. So, a person that does exercise and does work out can have a little more clarity in thought. And that's how I would see it shown. With a doctor's physical, you can actually see how it benefits, but physically see it on somebody, I would say clarity. A person that works out more is going to be a little more have better clarity.
How does burnouts or overtraining affect the body?
You really got to watch the overtraining. I think that's the one you got to watch out more than burnouts. Maybe burnouts to failure, and you have rhabdo or some things like that you might hear in the media. But really overtraining, not giving the body time to rest. The body actually is going to get stronger when it has more rest and recovery, or time away from that weight room. So you hear people doing, I'm doing 2 days, 3 days. Well, how much rest are you doing? Are you doing it smart enough where, if you're doing abs one day and you do abs the second day is one body weight versus with weight. So we talk about overtraining, you're talking about tearing down the muscle so much that it doesn't come back any stronger. And obviously you're just going to be more prone to injuries. So that overtraining can be really have a great correlation to the injuries that people see within the weight rooms.
So, and speaking about overtraining, what are some signs or symptoms of that?
You're actually going to, you talk about exercise gives people more energy. Overtraining, you're actually going to be more burned out. You're going to be tired because you're not getting that recovery time. The muscle's getting tore down. You might actually be getting weaker in the weight room. You don't understand why you're getting weaker. It's because you're not getting any recovery. And then the biggest one's going to be injuries. Your tendinitis is, you might have guys with, that are killing dips or bench, and a lot of pushing movements, and their elbows start bothering them. They want to know what's going on. Or they're creating imbalances in their body from overtraining one movement or one muscle group instead of having that balance with the second, which would be your push-pull or your back. So the largest thing I see from overtraining is going to be injury. And especially with tendonitis. You might have guys, terrible squat form, but they keep on squatting nonstop, and patella tendonitis creeps up because their knees are weighed out in front of their toes or their weight's not shifted back on their heel. So tendonitis and injuries would be the biggest thing I see from overtraining.
Does working out hurt or help aggression in sports?
I haven't seen it hurt aggression in sports. I really would be kind of foreign to see that. I think it actually helps. Most sports can have some type of period of pain. You're going to be in the fourth quarter in football and you're going to be tired. And I think working out can supplement that to where, you're getting that need. And the more you push yourself to pain, the more you can understand it and deal with it. So I think it only hurts that aggression. Now, if you're talking about an aggressive person coming in the weight room can release some of that aggression. You might have somebody that's real aggressive and going to take a boxing class might help with that aggression, or getting out on the practice field. You might have had a bad day, and if you're a big old lineman that wants to get out and move and be physical and punch things, then getting on that practice field and getting against a D lineman and taking that out against him really, really helps. So I think it can support being aggressive in the weight room. It backs it up, but on the other hand, if a person is aggressive, it can assist in learning to mellow out that aggression.
So in 2005, 66% of Americans were overweight or obese. How would you suggest fixing this?
That's a multifaceted question. The biggest thing I've seen from when I was a kid, and I'm not that old, sodas and Coke or pop or wherever you're from in the country, I say soda, but sodas were 10 to 12 ounces, and that was your daily soda. And then out of nowhere, McDonald's came out with supersizing, 32 ounce, 44 ounce, and the amount of fructose syrup or sugar that our country took in, I don't think the body was ever able to adjust to it. So I think the diabetes rose, the amount of sugar that's in our diets now, over time of maybe 100 years, the human body would be able to adjust through it. I think it happened such a quick time. Inactivity mixed with sugar amounts have completely destroyed our society in that way. So I think the biggest thing to fix it would be lower the amounts of sugar that we're consuming. That would be by far the biggest one for me. And then staying active, because if you do eat a lot of sugar, you have that time where you stay active. You can have that sugar immediately afterwards. It's going to turn right back into glycogen in the muscles. So there's a carbohydrate window there. But if you're inactive and you always have that sugar level in your bloodstream, and your muscles can only store so much and your liver can only store so much, that's where a lot of the problems happen.
How can exercise build character development?
It's easy to give in life. It's not just exercise, but it's easy to give in life. It's easy to give in when you have pain or discomfort. And in the weight room, if you go hard enough, you're going to have some discomfort. And you can either give in or you can push through and raise the bar. And hopefully if you do that enough, you can pull that outside the weight room. And now when you're uncomfortable in life and when you're uncomfortable with a situation in your family, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, you've learned to adjust that in the weight room. You can kind of apply that. And that's kind of, we put guys in adverse situations with moving quick, pushing sleds, running hard in the sand pit in the summertime. And that's really a big thing, is you're going to have adversity in every single football game. You have adversity in life, you're going to lose your job at some point in your life, and how do you deal with that? So we try to do that right there in the weight room and expose it.
So we talk about how when a player gets injured and he comes back from an injury, it's kind of like a mental barrier that he has. Sometimes players can't get over it. Do you think that working out can help a player deal with that and overcome it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're not going to want to go straight back to the field of play and test that out. So, you might have a guy that has a terrible injury, like a fractured pelvis dislocation, and then the first thing he does, he's cleared. You're not going to put him on a high box. He's going to go on the lowest box, feel comfortable with it, and he says, "Wow, it was a little uncomfortable, but my second jump was easier than the first, and the third was easier than the second." And he gets that confidence where he can go back out and be explosive and slowly build back up to the field of play.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for answering all of that.
No problem, man.